One theory is the precautionary principle, which is never be the first person to do anything ever.
None of the products we use in our daily existence would have been in existence had someone been following the precautionary principle in 1850. Aspirin would never have passed it. Certainly coffee would not.
The precautionary principle, I think, would have outlawed the use of fire. Who knows, you might set the cave on fire. I prefer something which is called the pro-actionary principle, which is, generally speaking, if there is a development that would provide benefits to humankind, you should generally go for it and work out the kinks, the risks later.
Could you call that the post-cautionary principle?
So there it was. We should trust free markets to lead us into the future, and as we pursue bold and exciting new fields, we should blind ourselves to the risks. So when our fake Dow site got an invitation to speak about the bold and exciting new field of nanotechnology, we knew what we had to do. We spared no expense. We even developed our very own advanced technology. In our research, we found out that the field of nanotechnology was working hard to make lots of new products. And while studies showed that some nanomaterials may cause cancer, there were still no safety regulations.
With no further ado, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Dow Corporation to the future. Some of the fantastic new products made possible by nanotechnology include tennis rackets, marvelous sunscreens, hydrophobic toilet coatings. These technologies will not only free us from day-to-day tasks, but will pleasantly task us with lifetimes of freedom. Today, nanotechnology stands at a precipice, ready to leap into even more glorious developments. But just as with synthetic chemicals beginning in the 1930s, no one actually really knows the environmental and health hazards of all nanomaterials. When we at Dow first began widely distributing synthetic chemicals, we too met with Luddite doubt and worry. What's that you're putting in the ground, people said. What's it going to do to my children? This Chicken Little approach to new things was dignified with the name, the precautionary principle. This fancy term means that you watch out before you release a new thing into the world. You test it well and at very, very great length to make sure it won't cause near-term or long-term damage to people, animals, or the environment. This, of course, sounds great. But what the Chicken Littles don't realize is that testing occurs regardless, either at great private expense before harm occurs, or at much less concentrated expense after harm is already part of our daily lived environment. Caution is simply deferred. The precautionary principle is tantamount to setting off firecrackers right next to society's ears. With the post-cautionary principle, on the other hand, both we and society proceed in a straight line right to our goals. Which would you choose? Back in the 30s, we at Dow made our choice. We decided to move forward as quickly as possible toward greater futures. Today, our world uses a great number of products developed back then, and very few of these substances have actually been fully tested. Over 90% lack some basic chemical screening data, and over 40% have no basic toxicity data. So is this a problem? Of course it is. I don't need to tell you about all the Dow chemicals that have been banned over the years. DDT, PVCs, Agent Orange, Durspan, bisphenol A, Nemagon, Dowicides, and the breast implants, ethylenamine, DBCP, EDB, Dow Fume, and Fumazone. Have we suffered from this? Yes. But the key question here, was it all worth it? The figures speak for themselves, even now, in our third quarter, where we have record profits. Way back when, we could have fled risk. We could have laboriously tested, but if we had been more cautious, profits would have suffered. Indeed, there is some collateral damage from the boldest approaches, but we must not lose sight of the collateral benefits. Yes, the rate of many cancers has risen by 50% in the last 50 years. I myself am opposed to unnecessary cancers. But without that increase, cancer research would be nowhere near where it is today. And the multi-billion-dollar cancer industry, which contributes so much to our nation's GNP, would probably not exist at all. You've heard of the invisible hand of the market, the forces of economic competition that bring all good things into existence. Rising cancer rates highlight another invisible hand, the hand of human suffering that pushes all of us to excel in creating exciting new products and services geared to making life bearable for the unlucky. In the post-cautionary approach, everyone does what they do best. Corporations make money, protesters protest, consumers consume without worrying about it too much, and progress proceeds unfettered. We salute you for the research you're doing. You are the future, and it is all in our hands. Thank you very much, and I'd be very happy to take questions.
I'm a little confused by your message. I heard you say both we should be precautionary and we should not be precautionary. Can you clarify for me?
We should be post-cautionary, which does not mean that we should be precautionary. It means that we should be post-cautionary. In other words, we should displace the burden of caution to the future.
So it means, in a nutshell, socialize the risk and privatize what you can get out of it?
Essentially, that's a very interesting way of describing it. Yes, socializing the risk. In other words, shifting the risk to the public.
I also from Vietnam, and I go through the phase of the war where Agent Orange has been used in Vietnam. I do not affected by it, but I can see a lot of the fellow people being suffering from that. I wish that a corporation like yours, with a lot of ability and education, could help, the community.
But I'm the survivor of a biggest carbide accident in Bhopal, which was at that time Union Carbide is now owned by you. So I've seen what can happen if you don't take good care up front. I was the head of a national lab there.
Wow.
I was involved in
Really?
neutralizing the second tank and standing in the plant right there. Next day to demonstrate that you can stand there. I had to go and I was not allowed to wear mask because we were to demonstrate confidence that yeah, you can walk around. I was under public pressure from the politicians to declare the milk is safe, the vegetables are safe, and water is safe. How could I tell them? When the team from Union Carbide came, I was surprised that there was no simulation that if this accident happens, what can you do to stop it? There was no exercise done beforehand what to do if this happens. You have the plant in West Virginia, but there is never one death because people know how to take care of it. There, I don't want to say it in public because the gentleman is noticing. You go back to see the history, how many safety things were not functioning that night. I know it because I was in the plant.
I believe there were 6. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I didn't want to.
The scientists at the conference didn't like the idea of putting money ahead of all other considerations. Then we walked to the nanotech product display floor.
That would be great if we could get some.
Here, putting money in the driver's seat was the only idea in town.
Do you take precautions regarding toxicology?
We have a document that we ask our customers to sign, alerting them to all the safety issues that we know about. Okay. And basically we say treat it like asbestos.
Asbestos, except much smaller, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. Do you, when somebody, like if my son, who's, let's say, 15, writes to you and says, I'm XY from company Z, and I want a bunch of carbon nanotubes, and writes it on good stationery and signs it with a nice adult signature, what do you do?
Take a check.
All right.